Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got something really interesting and new to share with you guys. Something from a company called Manganas Steel. I am 100% certain that I mispronounced that, so I'm so sorry. But this will definitely, I think, perk the ears up of a lot of people. Thank you so much to Manganas Steel for sending me this pre-production sample to share with everybody. This is currently in pre-order phase, so I will link the pre-order down in the description so that you guys can check it out if you want to. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Let's go ahead and find out exactly what we're looking at here. This, I have not opened this yet. This is called the Aurelia. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Oh boy. So right off the bat, gotta say, I looked at the pictures and it was one of those profiles where I thought, is it gonna be small or is it gonna be more to my personal size preferences? And right now I can tell you that this absolutely is. So this is manufactured by Riot. Look at that beautiful pivot and pivot collar combination. Very, very nice. Contoured, tumbled titanium scales. Nice T8 hardware. It looks like we got one for the stop pin. No big deal. Couple down here for the back spacer. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful pocket for the pocket clip. About halfway, a little over halfway, a little longer than I personally like it, but milled and that drop and nice swoop there. That's exactly what I like to see, minus the length. Little lanyard slot there. We also have, oh, this says M390. Now, on their website, this must be because of the pre-production. On their website, and I think in their DM, and if I'm wrong about this, then I will edit this to correct it. The actual production versions of this knife will include a Magna Cut blade, which has been hardened to 63 Rockwell. So the M390 is probably just for the pre-production sample. Also, need to compliment you real quick on these thumb studs. I like non-hyper peaked, wide stepped thumb studs, and I feel like a lot of people will echo that. And the reason is because after, 1, 5, 10, 20 flips, generally speaking, your thumb's not worn out. And that's specifically for those of us who like to sit and fidget with our knives on the couch, which I know many of you are like me and do that. Front flipper as well. Beautiful. Beautiful. Cross between a drop point and clip point blade. Absolutely stunning, high polished tumbled blade. Very cool. And then we have hand rubbed satin flats. We have the logo on that side. Very, very nice. Now, another interesting, wow. Okay. Lock bar tension on this is quite high. So that's going to make, nice clicky detent. The deployment off the thumb stud is incredibly satisfying and very easy to reverse flick. How's the front flip? Actually, the front flip is great too. Lock bar tension definitely high. Feels like Riot, right? Riot tends to have higher lock bar tension. Little bit of a shelf here, I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, so there's no cutout here. The only thing I'm going to critique about the action right off the bat, since this is a pre-production sample, is I would prefer to have this cut slightly lower, and specifically this area right there is a little bit of a hard drop off. Now it's not bad, but you will notice it. The first time you dig in to disengage the lock, you will notice that you're kind of running your finger up against that shelf, and that's a little tricky to work around given that the shape he's got here. So sometimes the answer is either to cut this slightly lower so you're engaging it more on the side, less pushing right into that angle, or you can do like, Brian at O Sharp by Design style, where you actually extend the lock bar insert itself to come out, which is also going to be tricky to do because it has to match the frame. You can extend that a little bit so you get a little bit of a side, a side grab, but not bad at all. I don't want to, highlight that. The other thing I want to highlight that I read in the description is that these are skiff bearing and washer compatible. So you can load these things up with skiff bearings or those thick phosphor bronze washers that allow for, if you've never experienced those, I experienced them for the first time here relatively recently, and those thick washers allow for excellent action, which is something that you don't always get with phosphor bronze washers. You get a nice, relatively smooth action, but still solid lockup and no wiggle left to right. Those of you who have modded your knives, take it from somebody who's a huge Hinderer fan and loves the tri-way pivot system. I thought it was so cool that we could alter our knives between bearings and washers and nylon. The reason that I never load those phosphor bronze washers into my Hinderer knives, truthfully, is because no matter what, I never get the proper combination of action, centering, and solidity on lockout. I can get one or two of those without the other, and as many Hinderer knives as I've owned, it's fine, but I can't quite get it exactly the way that I want. The skiff washers are a totally different story. You can get all of that, in my experience, which is really, really cool. So this is a nice full-size option. I'm going to guess that's 8 1/4, just by looking at it. Oh, it's a little bit bigger, 8.3. That means it's about the same exact overall length as the Spyderco PM2. This is very, kind of has that Sebenza classic look to it, but it's still absolutely its own thing. That elongated clip point with a nice swedge. That's a really clean looking knife. That's really clean, and the action is incredibly satisfying. Really, really good. Nice controlled drop there. Just a little bit of encouragement, and then a nice click into the closed position. Obviously, it's Riot, so it's got perfect centering, perfect everything. Really clean look. Really, really clean look. Yeah, big fan of this. The biggest thing for me, not to say that larger knives are always better than smaller knives, but a knife like this, when I saw pictures of it, I thought, I bet you anything that's 7.5 inches or 7 3/4 inches, which is fine. But I feel like we've got a lot of those and not nearly as many knives on the market right now that are between 8 and 8.5, which is typically what I like to carry, even if I don't need that much blade. That's just what I like, right? So this is actually really cool. The other thing that I thought was impressive, especially considering all of these different things, including the titanium frame, titanium backspacer, milled titanium pocket clip, the dual washer and bearing compatible setup, and the MagnaCut blade at 63, which is, if you don't know, that's where MagnaCut should be. 63, 64 typically is what the community asks for. The pre-order price on this is $280, which I would not have guessed. I would have guessed that I would have guessed that this thing would have come in at $325 plus, just given, the information that I was given. So that's all pretty impressive. I like this. Obviously, we're not looking at a design that's completely and totally unique. We've seen a profile similar to this before, but I feel like despite that, I think this will definitely speak to a lot of people. I want to point out here, I think the jimping needs to be slightly deeper. I like this, and you've got it elongated enough that it's going to complement, where the index finger is, but the traction is a little bit minimal. So I know, again, that these are, I guess, in pre-production phase, so it might be something that they can alter, but I feel like people will probably want a little more traction right there. Everything else, though, really seems nice. This is very, very impressive, and I think your price point is fantastic, especially considering Riot is the OEM, and Riot typically likes to be much closer to the $400 price point, given these materials. A couple of size comparisons, real quick, just for people who want to know. Ritter Hogue and Spyderco PM2 were right in there. Here's the bug out. Much bigger than the bug out, definitely. Let's put it up against the Demco AD 20.5. Let's put it up against the full size 8020. There you go. Right there. Very similar. And then what else do we have that would be a good one? How about the Spyderco Shaman? We don't always bring that one out. There it is up against the Spyderco Shaman at... Shaman's about 8 1/4, so just slightly shorter. All right. A full comprehensive review will follow here in a couple of weeks. This guy's going in my pocket. This is a knife that I really... In fact, I got to try out that pocket clip. I got a thing with one hand. So here's my thing with pocket clips. I know many of you know, right? The most ideal type of clip, and the reason I always say is I want it to start high and slowly taper in a slight ramp right here, knock down at the edges. Here's why. Because I want to take my knife with one hand. I'm wearing my thick cargo shorts, my dad pants today, right? So these are great to test. I want to be able to take this knife with one hand and push it into my pocket and be done. I do not want to have to hold my pocket and mash the knife in there. I also don't want to have to dick with it, pulling back out, and it's too tight, and it slips, and then I throw the knife on the concrete. I've done it too many times. I've carried literally, I mean, at this point, probably like 1,500 different knives, at least. And that is such a particular thing with me. This clip, aside from being a little bit long, and the only reason I say slightly long, man, admittedly, it's not even that bad. So my thing with clip length, I want it shorter so I don't have the bill digging into the middle of my hand. But because of this pocket that's cut out, it allows the pocket clip to lower to rest lower than it normally would, because the contoured frame is up here, right? This is also flat. Well, no, that area is contoured as well. But it rests a little bit lower. Exactly the difference in depth between the top of this and the pocket, right? So the part of the bill that's going into my hand is nowhere near as pronounced as it would be otherwise. And it's a soft bill. So not bad. Not bad. As far as the longer clips go, I don't really have a problem with that. That's a nice knife. It's a nice knife for a good price, right? Full review will follow. It's going to be it for today. Pleasantly surprised by this one. Not to say that I was expecting it not to be good. It's just much more to my personal liking than I ever would have expected based on the pictures, which is part of the handling experience with a lot of this stuff. Thanks so much to Manganas Steel. Check them out on Instagram for sending this in. Full review will follow. Links in the description. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.